Lockie from Tree Frog Permaculture, and in this video we're going to be talking about how to monitor seed quality in the stored seed in the seed bank. Over time, seeds are going to lose viability, and viability means the ability to germinate and grow into a plant. So it's just about making sure that you know how many of those seeds are viable still over time. So if you've had a set of seeds in the seed bank for a year, before you package them up and send them out into the seed bank community, you want to make sure that the seeds that you put into that, well, at least there's going to be enough seeds in that packet that they're going to be able to get plants growing. So if you think about seeds that you've purchased in the past, you'll get different numbers of seeds depending on what they are, and maybe even differences from the same place in numbers over time. So that's just about basically covering bases for the seed viability for how long they've been stored. So if you think about it, the longer the time they've been stored, the more seeds are going to be in the pack to ensure that the lower percentage of viable seeds are still making it through and you can still grow from that pack of seeds. So there's a simple and easy way to do that, and that is to get a seed type that you want to analyse. So for example, peas, it's coming into, well, it is winter now, so peas are a good grower for now. And it's a nice, simple, easy one. You can see it, they're biggish seeds. And so what you want to do is pick maybe 20 seeds or something like that out of the batch. And that means that you can easily translate it to a percentage of viability when you're doing the math later on. Moisture is what's going to trigger the germination of these seeds. And so what you want to do is you get a sealed container, something like this Chinese food container, wet some paper towel, put that in the bottom, and that's what you're going to be sitting your number of seeds on. So in this case, for these peas, I'm going to get 20 seeds out. Well, I'm going to count 20 seeds out, and I'm going to basically spread them out in here so they're easily visible and countable. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, now by having that number, it's going to make it really easy for us to get some idea of the percentage of viability in that seed store. So you space them out as well as you can. You can put a layer of moist paper over the top of them as well, and then you just basically seal them up in there like so. Now I will add a little bit of water to that just to make sure that they're moist, and then you can pop the lid on, and then you leave that on a windowsill or in a relatively warm place. If you leave it in a cold place, it's just going to take a bit longer for those seeds to betray their existence as far as viability is concerned. So once that's done, leave it, give it a few days, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, depending on the seed. Some seeds, now remember, because there's a diversity of genetics in those seeds, they're going to actually have a range of germinating times. So give them a week, give them 2 weeks is probably a good amount of time for most of the seeds. If they're going to germinate, they will germinate. Here are some I prepared earlier. They've been here going for about a week now, and it's plenty enough time in the case of peas, because they're usually quite readily germinatable, to figure out what are going to germinate and what aren't. Now, this is a particularly negative example because there is mold growing out of a bunch of the seeds. Now, if mold is growing out of a seed, that's usually a very good indication that that seed is no longer viable. So mold, rot, any kind of those functions in a seed is definitely going to be a no-go. So the percentage of seeds out of those 20 is 0, which means something has happened with that batch of seeds and none of them are viable anymore, so they're better off as chicken food. As far as these broad beans go, this is me testing a lot of old seeds I've kept for several years. So similar thing, you're only getting a couple of seeds germinating there, if any, and there's a bit of mold coming off some of them. So these are probably out of the old batch of seeds that I've saved, and they're not worth keeping anymore either. So the worst thing would be is to find out that you've put all of the seeds into bags already and you've handed them off to people only for them to be total failures. So this is why we're trying to do this viability testing. Now, here is a positive example. Hooray, finally! So this is for a loofah. So it's sort of related to a pumpkin, very similar in the seed and how it grows. And you can kind of see there, I've put 20 seeds in, and you can see some of them have actually grown into seedlings, so they're the earliest to germinate. Some of them are just starting to germinate now, but that still tells you that they're going to be viable. So you can look at that and you can count how many seeds after the week or 2 weeks. I'd usually give it 2, honestly. How many seeds are actually trying to grow and how many just haven't, and then you can calculate a percentage up. So 12 out of the 20 seeds have germinated. So 12 over 20 times 100 to give you a percentage, and you've got 60% viability. Now that just means you want to put, say, at least 20 seeds in a packet. You might even go to 30. It's just about making sure that a decent percentage of the seeds in the packet are going to be viable for growing. As far as providing seed for the Newcastle Seed Library, what you probably want to do is give it in once it has been harvested and saved and cleaned. You don't want to be saving it for too long at home and then giving it to the Newcastle Seed Library, just because the Newcastle Seed Library is probably going to have a much more stable seed storage system available as far as temperature and everything. I keep a seed bank at home, and even just the temperature changes within the house can actually limit the viability of seed storage. So by having that centralized storage system, we can actually elongate the life of our seeds in storage. So that'll be really handy to do. As far as giving them how many number of what kind of seed, just keep in mind that, as we spoke of before, those seeds are going to be losing viability over years. So you want to give them a decent amount of seed because they're going to be packaged up and distributed, but there also needs to be extra seed for testing for viability before that packaging happens, so you're not giving those dud seeds away. And hopefully, with a couple of years storage, if you save a lot of seed, then you're going to be able to provide a lot of seed for a lot of people over that time. So that's it for saving seed quality. I hope you've learned how to monitor the quality of seeds and do some viability testing, and hopefully you'll even be able to volunteer for the Newcastle Seed Libraries at some stage.